A young warrior named Jinta has sworn to protect a priestess in a secluded mountain village. When demons emerge to threaten the shrine, he is sent into the forest to hunt them down. But what he discovers there alters his fate forever, setting him on a journey that spans space and time. As he traverses centuries of history, Jinta is forced to confront his dark destiny and unravel the truth behind a single haunting question. Why does he wield the sword? The anime begins in 1830, with a young girl screaming as she is brutally beaten by her father. She pleads for help from a boy named Genta, who watches in despair, unable to intervene. Her father locks her away in a confined space despite her pleas. Later, Genta checks on his sister, Susan, only to find that she has managed to escape. He rushes to find her and sees her standing by the path, noticing that one of her eyes has turned red. He apologizes for not being able to help, but Susan reassures him, knowing that stepping in would have put him in danger. She asks him to leave her alone, but Genta refuses, insisting that they will escape together. Touched by his determination, Susan agrees, and they flee into the cold forest. As they struggle through the harsh conditions, a stranger approaches and offers his help. At that moment, Genta faints from exhaustion. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself being carried by the stranger, with Susan by his side. They arrive at a village known for its skilled blacksmiths. Susan feels uneasy, commenting on how strange the village seems. The stranger takes them to his home, where his daughter, Shirai, greets them warmly. Seeing the familial bond between the two, Genta and Susan feel a pang of sadness, having never experienced such warmth themselves. The man informs his daughter that the two children have no support and that he will make them part of their family. Overjoyed, Shirai introduces herself and asks for their names. When Genta calls her Shirai-chan, she quickly corrects him, saying that since they are now family, there's no need for such formality. Genta is stunned by how quickly things have changed. That night, Genta wakes up to find the man cleaning his sword. Curious, he asks if he is a samurai, but the man clarifies that he is a guard who protects important people. Genta is fascinated by his sword. The next morning, Shirai takes Genta and Susan to a nearby pool. Along the way, Shirai is scolded by her friend Shitsu for eating too much dango and not enough vegetables. Shirai defends her love for dango, saying her mother makes the best ones. Later, as they return home, Genta asks Shirai about her mother, and Shirai explains that her mother, Yukas, granted them permission to stay in the city. She reveals that her mother belonged to the Itsum, a group known for their fire-based abilities, and that she is the only one who inherited this power. Her father serves as her guardian. However, she sadly admits that she has not seen her mother in many years. 3 years pass, and Genta begins training in sword fighting under Shirai's father, though he struggles to make progress. Shirai's father reassures him that he is improving and that his true strength will emerge in time. Before leaving for work, he reminds Shirai to take care of the sword, and they exchange their goodbyes. Shirai checks on Genta, playfully reminding him that as his big sister, she must encourage him. Genta insists that he is older than her, but Shirai jokingly counters that she is more organized, which makes her the older sibling. Susan joins them, and they share a lighthearted moment before heading off for breakfast. As time passes, Genta grows into a formidable warrior and protector of the village, stepping into this role after Shirai's father, Maharao, sacrifices himself to protect the city. During a meeting at the shrine, the priestess praises Genta's ability to fend off demons. When asked about the current threat, Genta reveals that a demon, disguised as a human, tried to infiltrate the village. The head guard explains that demons can live for thousands of years, but if they consume the liver of the priestess, they gain immortality. He recalls how the previous priestess, Yukas, was killed by a demon, and Maharao gave his life to defeat it. The discussion turns to the legendary sword Urai, a sacred blade passed down through generations, which demons desperately seek to claim its immense magical power. A guard named Kiyamasa expresses doubts about Genta's abilities, claiming he lacks the talent to protect the city. Genta confronts him, but the priestess intervenes, reminding them of the respect required in this sacred space. Later, when the meeting concludes, the priestess asks Genta to speak with her privately. She urges him to drop the formalities and call her by her real name, Shirai. Blushing, she confesses that she has always wanted him to interact with her informally, as he is the only one who can. Genta hesitates, maintaining that she is the priestess and must be respected. However, Shirai insists, and Genta finally calls her by her real name, which flusters her. She expresses her guilt for relying on him so much, but Genta reassures her, promising to always protect her. Meanwhile, Susan sneaks into the shrine to see Genta, despite the risk of execution if caught. She explains that she missed him as he had not returned home in 3 days due to his battles with demons. Genta warns her of the danger and tells her to leave immediately. Before she goes, he hears approaching footsteps and quickly hides her. The head guard arrives, requesting a private audience with Shirai. She complies, and before Genta leaves the room, she entrusts him with the city's safety, hoping he will always remain her protector. Reflecting on the past, Genta remembers when Shirai's mother died and how she was chosen as the new princess in her place. She had expressed her desire to keep the city strong, just as her mother had, and Genta had sworn to protect her, training tirelessly to fulfill that vow. He returns to the present, reaffirming his commitment to his duty. Elsewhere, two demons discuss their plans. One of them, a female demon, observes Susan and notes her resemblance to someone she once knew. Back at Genta's house, he wakes up and prepares for the day. Susan playfully adjusts his mask to cover his eyes. Shirai arrives, surprising Genta. She asks him to spend the day with her, and although he hesitates, she insists that she got permission from the leader. The three of them share a nostalgic breakfast, reminding them of their happier days together. As Genta and Shirai venture into the village, no one recognizes her as the princess, surprising them both. They stop by a shop run by Chito's mother, who fails to recognize Shirai, but remembers Genta's childhood visits for sweets. Genta enjoys the nostalgic treat while explaining to Shirai that the woman hasn't seen her in years. Shirai reflects on how things have changed and remarks that nothing lasts forever, quoting one of her father's favorite sayings. At their secret meeting place, Shirai thanks Genta for accompanying her, revealing that she has something important to tell him. She announces that she has been arranged to marry Kiasa, a fellow guard, in order to secure the city's future. Though she confesses that she loves Genta, she acknowledges that she must now live as a princess. She once dreamed of running away with him, but she knows he would never agree to abandon his duty. Genta confirms this, saying that he trained to protect the city and cannot turn his back on that. They realize that their responsibilities have shaped their choices, even if it means sacrificing their personal happiness. Meanwhile, Susan is left alone when a demon approaches her. Elsewhere, Shirai informs Genta of two demons spotted in the forest and orders him to eliminate them, while Kiyomasa protects her. Genta sets out to complete his mission but is stopped by Kiasa, who confronts him about his feelings for Shirai. Genta brushes him off, declaring that protecting the city is his only priority. In the forest, Genta battles a powerful demon. The creature taunts him, speaking of humanity's fleeting existence and the drive to surpass one's limits. Despite being injured, Genta fights back, severing the demon's hand. The demon, impressed by his skill, remarks on the power humans wield through sheer determination. Meanwhile, Susan encounters the female demon, who reveals that Susan is also a demon. She tries to persuade Susan to embrace her true nature, insisting that her love for Genta is what keeps her human. The demon asks if she would use her powers to help him, promising that demons never lie. She extends her hand, but Susan refuses, trembling in fear. The demonist warns Susan that even if she couldn't harm her, she might expose her brother to danger. Then, she asked if Susan would still hold her opinion after seeing the future. She revealed a vision of Shirai's wedding to Kiyomasa, then told Susan she possessed the power of foresight and could share glimpses of the future. Susan, unwilling to hear the truth, summoned the demonist outside and demanded to know if Shirai had really done such a thing. The demonist confirmed it, but Susan called her a liar. The demonist insisted she would show her the truth, extending her hands once more and telling Susan that all of this was for her brother. Susan hesitated before finally reaching out to the demonist. Meanwhile, Genta continued his battle with the demon. He was forced into the water, but the demon attacked from behind. Genta asked why it wanted to harm humans, and the demon replied that it was simply in its nature. It explained that it had a specific purpose and was fulfilling it, unlike other demons that attempted to resist their instincts. Genta declared that he would show no mercy. The demon revealed its absorptive powers, stating that it consumed other demons to grow stronger, altering its very structure. As Genta attacked, his sword shattered, and his arm was severed due to the demon's immense strength. However, in a desperate move, he grasped the broken blade and plunged it into the demon's body, ultimately killing it. Before dying, the demon revealed that another demon possessed the power of foresight and had foreseen the rise of a greater demon 170 years into the future, one that would rule over the demon children in the city. It explained that this was why they had come to this village in the first place. Stunned, Genta wondered if there was already a demon living among them. As the dying demon grabbed him, it asked whether, if he discovered those he sought to protect weren't truly worthy, he would still wield his sword for them. Elsewhere, Princess Shirai was confronted by Kiasa, who tried to approach her, but she pushed him away. She insisted that the demons had to be killed by Genta first. Kiasa, however, argued that now was the right time for them to be married. If they didn't do it now, they would have to do so in front of Genta. He stepped away, leaving the decision to her. Overwhelmed, the princess began to cry and admitted she had been wrong. She agreed to marry him for the sake of the city. Just as she approached Kyasa, the demonist arrived with Suzun. Suzun, witnessing the scene, demanded to know why the princess was doing this. Jinta regained consciousness, shocked to find his severed arm restored. He rushed back to the city, only to find it completely engulfed in flames. At the princess's house, Suzun confronted Shirai, accusing her of betraying Jinta. She had worked hard to bring them together because she wanted Jinta to be happy, but now Shirai was doing this? The princess tried to defend herself, saying she appreciated Suzun's efforts, but she had a duty as the princess to protect the city, even if it meant letting go of her love. Suzun was furious and removed her blindfold, laughing bitterly. The demonist reinforced Suzun's anger, reminding her that while Jinta risked his life in the woods, the princess was in another man's arms, betraying him. Enraged, Suzun declared that it would be better if Shirai were dead. In that moment, Suzun transformed into a demonist, her body surrounded by dark smoke. She declared that the princess had to die. Kyasa tried to intervene, but the demonist struck him down. The sword moved toward Suzun, and the demonist pushed Kyasa aside, insisting they resolve their problems themselves. Suzun grabbed the sword, but just then Jinta arrived. Shirai ran toward him, embracing him, but her head was severed while in his arms. Stunned, Jinta recalled their past together, only to realize that Suzun had killed Shirai. He turned to Suzun, demanding an explanation. Suzun, smiling, told him she did it for his happiness, so he wouldn't have to endure Shirai marrying another man. Jinta, overwhelmed, begged her to stop speaking. Suzun insisted that Shirai had deceived him, and that she had done something wonderful by removing her. She urged Jinta to go home, as she was tired. Jinta was filled with rage. He accused Suzun of betraying the people who raised them, killing Shirai, and setting fire to the entire city, only to act as if nothing had happened. Suzun dismissed his anger, asking if it was really a problem. Jinta, realizing that the sister he once knew was gone, attacked her. She dodged his strikes, shocked that he would try to kill her. Then, to her horror, Jinta transformed into a demon himself, gaining the power of the one he had just slain. Suzun, recognizing his newfound strength, tried to defend herself, but Jinta coldly told her to be silent. Desperate, Suzun accused him of abandoning her like everyone else. She had believed that of all people, Jinta would stand by her side. If he didn't appreciate her, she declared she would live in hell. With a sudden burst of speed, she attacked him, saying that he had to die. She drove her hands into his body, but when she tried to pull them out, she found she couldn't move. Jinta retaliated with a devastating strike that sent her flying, yet she stood once more. Jinta prepared to attack again, but another demonist intervened, taking the hit instead. The she-demon urged Suzun to escape, and Suzun fled. Jinta tried to pursue her, but he was unable to free himself from the she-demon's grip. As Suzun left, she told him she was angry and would tear everything apart. She promised to return one final time. The she-demon, laughing, declared that she had achieved her goal. Jinta pulled his hands free, accusing the demons of spilling blood to accomplish their ends. The she-demon confirmed it, stating that demons would no longer remain myths. She saw the future. Darkness would overtake the human world, and demons would reclaim their place. She died. Jinta carried Shirai's body, reflecting on all his training and how he had failed to protect her. Overcome with fury, he packed his belongings and prepared to leave the city. He approached the captain of the guards, who asked where he was going. Jinta replied that he was leaving to retrain and become strong enough to fight the great demon when it arrived. The captain questioned whether he truly meant to kill Suzun. Jinta admitted that while he had once loved Shirai, now he could only hate her murderer. He had to end things, no matter what. The darkness inside him urged him to kill Suzun. The captain observed that despite becoming a demon, Jinta still had dignity. He handed him a sword, declaring that this marked him as a Rei, bound to follow the traditions and rules of the city. He added Kaji to Jinta's name, giving him the title Jinta. Jinta hesitated, saying he wasn't worthy of the sword. The captain disagreed, stating that the last member of the Atu Kaman family was gone, and leaving the blade to gather dust would be meaningless. It belonged in Jinta's hands. He also believed that Shirai would find peace in death if the sword remained with him. The captain then apologized, acknowledging that he had known about Jinta and Shirai's love story. He had only encouraged Kiyomasa to marry Shirai for the city's benefit, but in truth, he only wanted his son's happiness. The weight of that tragedy burdened him. As Jinta departed, Sho's mother approached him, tears streaming down her face. She asked if he was truly leaving, promising that she would always remember him.